My name is Dr. Mikki McComb-Kobza. I'm the director of Ocean First Institute. Welcome to World Oceans Day. And again, I'm proud to be here with our partner Skype in the classroom and the Microsoft educator community and our friends at the Aquarius Reef Base. As you heard earlier, they have some extreme weather, so we'll be joining them shortly after our presentation. Again, if you have questions for the Aquarius Aquanaut team or myself, you can ask that at any time using hashtag #AskAnOceanExpert. We'll get those questions answered for you as quickly as we can. So again, welcome to World Ocean Day. I am so excited because I get to talk to you about my favorite thing in the whole world, and that is our ocean. And so without any more delay, I'm going to go ahead and get started and share my presentation with you. So as long as I can remember, I have been trying to connect people to the ocean. I became a scuba instructor when I was very young and spent time living in the Florida Keys connecting people to the ocean. How many of you someday would like to be a scuba diver? Well, I tell you what, it is one of the greatest adventures to spend time underwater in the world's last great wilderness. And so I spent many years doing that, and then some doors opened for me, and I ended up becoming a shark doctor, a marine biologist, traveling the world trying to understand how sharks work, what makes them tick, why do they do what they do, and how do they find each other underwater. All of these fascinating questions have driven me to work with people all over the world, and it has been an adventure. And so now I'm the director of Ocean First Institute, and we're in Boulder, Colorado, of all places. You might say, why would you be working in Colorado if you're working on the ocean? And it's a question I get a lot, and I'll tell you, we are all connected to the ocean no matter where we live. That's the amazing thing. When you look at our planet, which is 4.6 billion years old, you can see that it is not really planet Earth, it's planet ocean, because most of the surface of our planet is water. And because we have water on Earth, we have life. So without water, we would not have life on Earth. And did you know that 2 out of every 3 breaths you take comes from the ocean? So the ocean is really like the rainforest of the planet. It's where we get most of the oxygen that we breathe, even if we're living in the mountains of Colorado. And the ocean controls our climate and our weather. So if you look down on the earth here, you can see all of these swirling currents. And that's because the sun heats our planet unevenly. And so some water is warmer than others. And that drives the movement of the water all over the surface of our planet, and it allows the control of our climate. Places like Europe are warmer than they ordinarily would be because of the warm water of the Gulf Stream. So did you know that over 3 billion people eat seafood every single day? So this is almost half of the people on our planet eating seafood every day. So we rely on the ocean for so many things. And I think one of the things that the aquanauts down at Aquarius know so well is that only about 5% of our ocean has been explored. Do you know that we know more about Mars than we do our own oceans? So as I mentioned before, life started in the ocean. That's what scientists believe. And you can see here with this tree of life that all of the diversity of life has arisen from the ocean, and we're all connected. We're all closely related to each other. What an amazing thing to think about, that we are related. So I want to take you on a little journey with me now and share some of these extraordinary creatures that make the ocean their home. So the first one I want to share are tiny, tiny little plants and animals called plankton. They are the base of the food chain, the base of the food web. They are the creatures that most organisms rely on for food. And what's incredible to consider is these creatures, these plankton, many of them are phytoplankton, using the energy of the sun to grow. And plankton then builds the bodies of the biggest fish in the sea. This is a whale shark. Whale sharks are the biggest sharks, the biggest fish in the ocean. And here I am with my 8-year-old son swimming right next to this shark. You might think, Mickey, why would you be swimming next to a shark? Because it's completely harmless. This shark is a filter feeder, and it's feeding on those tiny little plants and animals called plankton. So what an amazing thing to realize. The biggest fish in the sea is eating almost microscopic plankton. And then when we think about the homes of so many of the animals in the ocean, we think of the coral reefs. So how many of you think coral reefs are animals? Or how many of you think they're plants? So go ahead and raise your hand. Well, coral reefs are animals, and they are single animals that form together as a group called a colony. And when they grow as colonies, you can see they create large structures called coral reefs. These are the only living structures we can see from space. Incredible to think about. There are soft corals that wave in the water, in the currents, and there are hard corals like this that create structures that allow fish to have homes and security and a place to live. So coral reefs are part of a very healthy ecosystem. So having healthy coral reefs means a healthy ecosystem for fish, eels, and all other creatures that call it home. Wow, what is this? This is called an echinoderm. It means spiny skin. And what you're looking at are tiny sea stars moving all across the coral reef. How do sea stars move? They have hundreds of tiny feet on the bottom of their bodies that they use to move across the reef. It's called a hydrostatic foot. And you can see it right there. Those little feet are moving ever so slowly across the reef, allowing the sea star to crawl across the reef and move around. Oh my goodness. So this is an arthropod. It means jointed appendages. And you can see this crab has jointed legs. But what's really neat about arthropods is they have skeletons, but their skeletons are on the outside of their bodies. It's called an exoskeleton. And as crabs get bigger and bigger as they grow, they have to shed that exoskeleton. And you can see that happening right here with this crab. He's doing a process called molting. He's growing out of his shell, and as he grows, he'll get out of that old shell. And when he's done, it kind of sounds a little gross, but he eats that shell. And he does that because he's getting all of the materials, the minerals, out of his old shell so that he can grow a brand new one and be safe from predators. Pretty cool. Oh my goodness, you will not believe your eyes. Take a look at this reef. Something's going to happen. Oh, wow. Look at that. It's an octopus. So octopus are called cephalopods, means many feet. And cephalopods are so smart, and they can change colors. Look at that. It changes the shape, it changes the texture of its body and the color to blend into its surroundings. That's incredible to think about. And they use that to hide. Wow, what a beautiful creature. And then this is called the FlapJack Octopus. This is a deep sea octopus that's being filmed by a submersible, and the light is so bright the octopus is saying, oh, turn off that light. It's pulling its arms up to cover its eye. It's like too bright. Somebody turn out the lights. What a cute octopus. Now this next one I think is really going to surprise you. This octopus is in an aquarium, and he's so smart that he can actually use tools. And so these people at the aquarium are putting a camera underwater, and this octopus is going to take pictures of kids just like you. Can you imagine? So take a look at this octopus as he's getting ready to take a picture of a bunch of kids. I can't believe what I'm seeing. Incredible. So we call this really the first octographer because it's an octopus that's a photographer. Pretty amazing to think of an octopus being that smart. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit right now to talk about something I love, and that's fish. This is called the Barreleye fish. It's a deep sea fish, and what's unique about it is it has a transparent head. It's a see-through head, and on the head, inside of it, are two green balls. Those are its eyes. Those are tubular eyes that it can see through its own head, and it can actually rotate those tubular eyes forward so it can see what it's eating. Can you imagine having a see-through head where your eyes can see through your own head? Amazing. This is the barreleye fish. And again, it lives in the deep ocean, and that's a special adaptation. All right. So let's move into my very, very favorite thing. I am a shark researcher by training, and I love to talk about sharks. They're very special. They've lived on our planet for over 440 million years, and there are over 500 different shark species. I want to share a couple really neat ones with you today. This is one of my all-time favorites. It's called the velvet belly lanternshark. It would fit into the palm of your hand. That's how tiny it is, but it glows in the dark. That's what's special about the lanternshark. And it does this, we think, by using chemicals inside its body to create light called bioluminescence. And we think it does this to camouflage itself in the downwelling light. So as light comes down, it can blend in. So it's almost like a Harry Potter invisibility cloak. That's pretty amazing, if you ask me. And then, did you know that we have some sharks that can actually walk on land? Who knew? This is incredible. This is an Epaulette shark. It uses its side fins, called pectoral fins, and its modified pelvic fins on the back to actually walk across the reef in the motion that we call punting. Pretty incredible. We have land sharks. All right. So then moving into another group of animals I think most of us can agree we love, it's marine reptiles. So these are the sea turtles that are swimming in our ocean today. There are 7 different kinds of sea turtle species that are swimming in our ocean, and they are all endangered species, unfortunately. But marine reptiles are amazing. They are air breathers. They can spend a lot of time underwater diving deeply to find their food. Some eat grass, some eat jellyfish, some even eat coral. There is just a diversity in their diets. But they all lay eggs on the beach, many of which lay eggs on the beaches where they were hatched originally. So they have an amazing story of traveling throughout our oceans and finding their way back home. What an amazing story of the sea turtle. And then I would love to share this with you. This is our close relative. This is one of the many mammals that live in the ocean today. This happens to be one of my favorites. This is a male and female humpback whale, and this male is singing songs to the female. He's trying to get her attention, trying to get her to like him. And so he sings these elaborate songs to get her attention. And the males will sing songs to each other and add little parts to it. So there's a whole symphony of songs that keep changing over time. But these are amazingly large animals that have an intelligence, that communicate and sing across entire ocean basins. So, you know, as we talk about ocean animals and, you know, the opportunity to explore our oceans and to be a diver in the ocean today, I've seen a lot of changes just in the short time that I've been able to be a scuba diver. And some of the changes that I've been seeing aren't good. And so, unfortunately, the ocean is in trouble today. And there's a few different reasons. Today, we're impacting the ocean more than ever. We're taking a lot of things out of it, like fish and many ocean creatures for food. But we're also putting things into the ocean that shouldn't be there. Things like our chemicals and our trash, unfortunately. So right now, today, many of you might know that there are big patches of trash floating in our oceans all over the globe. And this is a big problem for many of the ocean creatures, as well as ourselves eventually. So you might ask, well, where does this trash come from? Well, actually, 80% of the trash that ends up in the ocean comes from sources on the land. So that is something to think about. When you don't live near the coast, you can still have an impact on the ocean. So how can plastics harm wildlife in the ocean? Well, sea turtles, as I mentioned, eat jellyfish, and sometimes trash looks like jellyfish. So some species eat trash, some get tangled in trash, and as plastic breaks down, it can turn into smaller and smaller pieces that are ingested by fish that ultimately we eat. So it's a big circle that's coming back to us, and it's not a good one. So what can we do about it? How can we, a person like me in Colorado, or a person in Kansas or India, how can somebody help be part of the solution? Well, it's a problem we can solve, and it's something that each of us should be thinking about. One of the easiest things to do is to stop using plastics as much as you can. Things like using water bottles that are single use isn't really a good thing. Use a reusable water bottle. We all have the ability to get these. It's a great idea to use them. One of the other things that you might not know is that 500 million straws are used in the United States every day. That's enough to fill up 125 buses, school buses. And we find these on the beaches all the time. So you can use things like aluminum straws. These stainless steel straws will help you not use the reuse of the straws that are plastic. You can also bring your own utensils, which is really helpful when you're out eating. Bring your own, that way you don't have to have a plastic fork and spoon. And then, of course, when we get products or go to the grocery store, we can use our own bags. That way we don't keep using plastic bags. And another thing we don't think about is some of the chemicals that go into the ocean and into our rivers and streams. If we can make soap and things like that at home with natural products, this is a really big step, and it's fun. So that's another thing we can do. So we can find really creative ways to reuse or repurpose items. We can even make art, like the Washed Ashore exhibit. They use marine debris trash to create beautiful pieces of art to raise awareness, and we can just spread the word to our friends and family. And then one of the other things that I think is really important is to do a beach cleanup. If you live near the ocean, you can clean up a beach. But if you live away from the ocean like I do, you can do creek cleanups, because all of that trash in rivers and streams ultimately goes to the ocean. So all of us have a part to play, and all of us can be part of that solution. So do a creek cleanup. It's fun. You get to know your community, and you're helping the ocean. And one of the last things I'd love to say is just share what you learned about the ocean. That's an important part of helping people connect, is to let them know, some of the amazing things you've learned, and to share that with them. And never, ever stop exploring. I hope some of you today have been inspired to learn more about sharks and octopus, and to think about maybe someday becoming a scuba diver, because it really is an amazing environment that I think once you try it, you'll always want to do it. I sure do. And with that, I had an opportunity to go and spend time underwater in one of the world's only underwater habitats. It's called the Aquarius Reef Base. What an incredible facility. They are down there exploring the ocean every single day, trying to unlock the new mysteries, unlock answers about what's happening to our ocean. These are the true explorers. I remember spending time there with my hero, Dr. Sylvia Earle. We went outside of the Aquarius and played football with a coconut underwater and listened to music. It's an amazing place, and I would love to have them share their experiences with you. And remember, everyone, if you have questions, you can go ahead and ask an ocean expert. That's what we'll be having you do for your hashtag. And if I still have time, I'm going to see if I do. I think I have gone on a little bit long. So I think I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and go back. Let's see here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay, and I'm going to come back, and I guess I will take 1 second to answer a question. I know I'm running late, and I apologize. One of the questions here is, this is from Miss Mancini's class in New York, and it says here, how does coral get white? How does coral get bleached? And I'll answer that quickly. Corals are animals, as we mentioned before, and what happens to corals is they have a partner called algae that lives inside of them, and it's called zooxanthellae. And when coral gets stressed out, they will expel that algae. The algae is what gives the coral color. And so when the algae is expelled by the coral, it turns white. And that is a very bad sign for a coral. So a coral that is white is not a healthy coral. Sometimes they can recover, sometimes they cannot. But seeing a white coral is definitely not a good sign. That is a sign of a very stressed coral. What we're going to do is we are going to have some fun, and I'm going to share some really neat stuff with you. So as I mentioned before, I'm a shark researcher, and sharks are my favorite thing in the whole world. So I want to share something with you that I think you're going to like. This is the jaw of one of my favorite kinds of sharks. It's called a tiger shark, and what I want to share with you is its teeth. Oh my goodness, these teeth are a little bit different than the normal teeth you might see in a shark jaw. These teeth are like knives and saws put together. And the reason why is that the tiger shark has a very interesting diet. One of the things it likes to eat, unfortunately, are sea turtles. And this can opener style jaw and tooth, will really allow it to do just that. One of the other things to look at is this kind of row and row and row upon row of teeth. It's almost like a conveyor belt. Well, that's because sharks' teeth are modified scales. And so if you look at another jaw, this is the jaw from a bull shark, a little bit smaller in size. But I want you to see how that conveyor belt of teeth plays out. It's really neat. And so their teeth are always moving forward and getting pushed out into their soft tissue in their jaw. So one job you would never want would be to be a shark tooth fairy, because they are always losing their teeth. And it makes sense, because sharks have to be able to have sharp teeth. They don't have hands. They've got to be able to get everything that they're hunting for in their mouth. So that's a really important thing. One of the other things I would love to share with you is this. So when we think about sharks and their size, here is the tooth of a great white shark. That looks pretty big, right? You can see that in my hand here. So great white shark teeth, when they're adults, are triangular. They're serrated on the side. You can see that. But get ready for this. This is amazing. Look at this. Whoa! This tooth is from a shark that's called a megalodon. So the megalodon is thought to have gone extinct around 2 million years ago. And the megalodon tooth, as you can see here, is huge. These sharks got to be as big as school buses, and you and I both could fit inside its mouth. That's how big they were. And they used to eat whales. Can you imagine how incredible that must have been to see them? So they looked almost like modern day great white sharks, like this, with teeth that big. So you can imagine that would have been a sight to see. One of the other things that's really neat about sharks, and I got a question from a student on Twitter just a few minutes ago asking me about why killer whales have white bellies and then have that darker top. And that's something that we call counter shading, and we see that in many fish species, including sharks and orca whales. And the reason why is the tops of the sharks are dark so that when you're looking down upon them, they kind of blend into the dark water. But if you happen to be looking up at the shark, from the bottom, it's white on the bottom, which kind of helps them blend into that downwelling light. So this is a camouflage strategy that we see with sharks and other marine mammals, that's for sure. All right, great. I have a couple of other questions I'd like to ask. And again, this is from Miss Mancini's class, and they are in New York City. So hello, Miss Mancini's class. Thanks for joining us. One of the other questions that came up, and we touched on it, is why doesn't plastic decompose? So that's an interesting question. When plastic is created, it's created in such a way that the bonds in the plastic don't break down very easily. So in fact, a plastic bottle that you might buy to have a glass of water, you'll be done in probably 10 minutes. That bottle takes about 450 years to break down. So that's a long time if you think about it, and all of the landfills all over the world are filling up with things like plastic straws and plastic bottles and other items. So one of the things I think people are thinking about now is how do we reuse all of those plastic products that are created. Only about 14% of everything that's created with plastic is recycled. So certainly we're losing out on that, and certainly we can do much better in recapturing and reusing plastic. And then I have another question from Miss Mancini's class that says, why would people want to pollute the ocean if we only have one? That's a great question, and something that I think about a lot. And because we do only have one ocean, I think we have a responsibility to treat it better than we do today. And that's why at the Institute, I spend a lot of time helping people understand the simple things they can do to be part of the solution, because all of us can turn it around, and all of us can have a positive impact and make a difference. And so that, in my opinion, that's the greatest thing we can all do, is just to make little changes in our life that can add up. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mikki. We're so excited to have heard all of that great information on World Oceans Day. And thank you, classrooms, for joining us. And please join us now on Twitter at #AskAnOceanExpert, where we will be getting to all of those wonderful questions that you guys have been submitting. Thank you, and keep working to protect our oceans.